Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast, where we are officially in Thunder Draft SZN. I'm here with my two compadres, Brandon and Rabar. Brandon, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I am excited. Now the real season begins. It's like the Jim Carrey Batman gif, but Thunder version. Like, this is where it all really begins. I'm excited about draft season.
Spencer Davis is also here. Spencer, are you as excited as Brandon?
I am. Yeah, I feels like that time has been slowing down ever since the end of the regular season ended, just waiting for lottery night. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And yeah, just getting the second draft of the process done.
Yeah, so let's start there. Let's shape the podcast. So we're going to be giving out our lottery big board, so 1 through 14, and this is going to be through the lens of Oklahoma City. Shocker. So we're gonna list these guys out in order of what we think would be the best fit for Oklahoma City. Brandon, is that fair to say? Is that exactly what we're after?
Yeah, it's strange because I feel like this is still my top 14 regardless. Like, it's definitely Thunder centric, like looking at needs and things like that. But to me, the Thunder kind of need everything. Mm-hmm. And so these are just kind of my best 14 anyways. And it's not necessarily the ones I think are going to be the best 14 rookies. I'm just looking long-term picture. Who are the best 14 players? And that's what I have right now. And it just so happens it lines up with what the Thunder need, which is just overall talent.
So Sam Presti in the end of the year press conference, which was a marathon, like really, really good. I think might be one of his best times with the media in a long time. He talked about this will be the second draft as part of a long-term process. So we want to get into that now. Brandon, did you have any major takeaways from his time with the media? I know you were there.
Yeah, so I was there. My major takeaway was how long it was. It was 2 hours and 13 minutes. And I remember that because I looked it up, and that is the exact same length as the average NBA game in 2021, 2022. So, I mean, it just shows, again, Sam Presti's playing chess while the other GMs are playing checkers. He planned out his meeting to go the exact length of an NBA game. No, I would think that the major takeaways, though, I really appreciated, I joke about the length, but I really enjoyed. He said from the beginning, I'm here to answer every single question that you guys have for me because I think that's important. And he kind of talked about, he just wanted to be open and transparent. And I think he was maybe more than any other press setting I've seen him in. He was just really open and honest. Like, if it didn't take much to kind of read between the lines and see what he was saying. Sometimes he was just blatant about it and being like, hey, if there's an accelerator button to speed things up, I'd press it, but there's not. And I'm going to make sure nobody else presses that button. Basically saying we're not going to, speed up this process. And over again, he just kind of kept going back to, we're not going to skip steps. We know what we're doing. We have a plan. We're going to be successful. We're going to be a playoff team again. He mentioned the playoffs and being successful a lot of times, but he also mentioned not skipping steps. And once they're not playing games of consequence, that they would shift to development, which is what they've done the last 2 years. And he said that if this happens again, they'll compete, they'll try to win. Once that isn't happening anymore, they'll shift to development and AKA tank and try to get a better draft pick to add more talent. So I just appreciated his transparency, really.
Yeah, I agree. It was very interesting to hear him talk, especially for that long. I think he said, like, if you guys, once we get to like you guys asking me what books I'm reading, we'll probably shut it down. But like until then, we're gonna go. All right, so let's start with this. We're gonna start at the top. This is our big board. I think we don't know each other's yet. We're gonna be learning this from each other in real time. So very interested to hear what you guys have as 1 through 14. I want to start with Spencer, your number one player, the top of your board. through the lens of the Thunder drafting?
I'm going to go with Paolo Banchero. And I go back and forth between him and Chet quite a bit, and I may end up flip-flopping again before lottery night or before draft night. But to me, it's so dependent. Like Paolo's future is so dependent on where he ends up. Like if he ends up in Houston, he has enough inefficiency in his profile as a scorer that I would be very worried about where he goes, or even like Orlando. Like there are some nightmare places for Paolo Banchero, in my opinion. But I think Oklahoma City would do a good job of bringing out all of his best strengths. And his floor is much higher than Chet's. Obviously, we know that just by looking at them physically. We can see like Paolo is almost definitely going to be a better rookie than Chet next year. Not that matters, but to me, like the ceiling for Paolo is also just as high if he's in the right environment. And I think Oklahoma City would be a great spot for him, because I think they would, first off, they're not going to let him be a bad defender, right? Like you got to eat your broccoli. Was that Coach Dagnall's line to Trey Mann?
Yeah.
Or was it some other vegetable? I think it was broccoli. Yeah. Like Paolo's going to be a good defender, and he has the tools to, or at least a passable defender. Like he's not going to be, a super weak point there, in my opinion, if he's in Oklahoma City setup. And I'm just not that worried about the shooting, as I know, like Brandon is, for example, which you can touch on that if you want to get into the weaknesses of his game.
Brandon. Yeah, so I guess I'll start by saying, since we're talking about Paolo, my top three guys, and I think that really any draft analyst who's done a lot of research will probably admit these guys are kind of 1A, 1B, 1C. And it's kind of like dealer's choice. Like, you're talking about fit, you're talking about floors, you're talking about ceilings. They each have such great strengths, but then very apparent weaknesses. Paolo, I've gone back and forth 1, 2, and 3 with all these three guys. I've had Paolo there, and I would love Paolo because what you said, his floor is so high. He's going to be at the very least, a great role player, an impact player, a positive player. He's the most well-rounded. He can do so many things well. And like you said, his apparent weaknesses are 3-point shooting, but that improved over the course of the season. And he was at his best in March Madness, which is a big positive. But still, you're looking at like 33% from three on the season. Okay. Well, his defense was the other big, red flag against him. But like you said, I feel like he's got the tools, and when he's locked in, he can at least play solid, passable defense. The problem for me is the two biggest things that you want to build around Giddey and Shea are defense and shooting. And those are his two question marks. That's why I have him a little bit lower than my 1 or 2. Well, that was a big spoiler.
So let's go with your number 1, Brandon.
Okay, so again, all the business on which day you asked me. I literally earlier today switched my 1 and 2 back. I'd had it at Chet for so long, then I switched it to Jabari Smith Jr. Earlier today, I switched it back to Chet Holmgren. I just think that, again, I go back to the two biggest things I think the Thunder need are defense and shooting, especially from a big, whether Chet plays a 4 or a 5 or Paolo or Jabari play a 4 or 5. I want defense and I want shooting. And I know that Chet's going to do that, and Jabari does that as well. Those are his two strengths, and even more so than Chet, probably those two. But that's where Jabari's kind of begins and ends. But Chet has the potential to do so many other things. Now, Chet's scary at number 1 because he's the biggest risk of the three. He's the biggest bust potential of the three, but he can put it on the ground. He can create for himself. He's got some playmaking, and his shooting, like near 40% from three, high volume, good free throw shooter. So many block shots, like 4 block shots a game. I mean, he has the potential to be a superstar, like an Evan Mobley game changer. And it would be so tough to pass that up at number 1 with the disclaimer of there's that big old risk that, he weighs $150 at 7'1", and, he might get pushed around, but I believe in the talent.
I think my favorite part about Chet was his willingness to like compete when guys tried to push him around. It was it seemed like every coach that played against him was like, hey, you can go push him around. And some found out that you can't really. He did a very good job of holding his own. 195. How much that's his listed weight. How much are we buying that? Is that are we giving him 10 extra there?
The weight thing is like, if you look at old pictures of Chet, he has gained weight. Like, I don't know what 195 pounds looks like when he's, when it's somebody as tall and as skinny as him. He may not actually be that. But I do think that Chet is going to be able to put on weight over time. Like, I think 5 years from now, if he's 220 pounds, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Spencer, what do you think about the Kevin O'Connor comparison of Gen Z Pau Gasol?
I hadn't seen that. That's amazing. Gen Z Pau Gasol. Obviously the arrows were different, so he didn't shoot it as much as Chet probably will. And Pau was definitely more physical than I think we're expecting Chet to be. But that's hilarious. I wonder, like, did Pau have that big of a wingspan? I don't think so.
His other comparison was Rudy Gobert with perimeter skills,
which is the one that I think we see more often, right? Which is like, he's Rudy Gobert defensively if he pans out, and he can also hit like trailer threes and can handle a little bit eventually. Now, his handling maybe is not going to translate immediately because, like Poku, all you have to do is bump him, and he's going to have to give the ball up if he's up on the perimeter. I mean, we even saw that in certain college games last year, against Arkansas especially. Like, he just really couldn't handle the ball much on the perimeter unless he was just taking an open three, which for the Thunder would be great to have somebody like that could just hit a catch and shoot three, right? Like, Mike Muscala has been an unbelievably impactful player just with that skill alone. And Chet brings so much more upside than that long term. But yeah, Chet is an interesting pick. And if the Thunder ended up with him at number 1 or anywhere in the top 4, I think it would be a worthy of a celebration.
I also have Chet at number 1, so we don't have to belabor that point. I agree with everything Brandon said about him probably having the lowest floor, but I struggle to see him, like, with how like fluid this era is. It just feels like he's going to be able to. I feel like he's going to be okay on the defensive end, and his shot blocking alone. I know that shot blocking isn't like the greatest metric for a defender, but it's not a bad one, and I think he's going to be a solid defender.
How's a 7'5", 7'6" wingspan for a metric for a defender? And that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you. I think he's going to figure it out. I don't even know that I agree. I guess he has the lowest floor, but that's just because Paolo and Ivy have incredibly high ceilings, I think. Like, I don't think Chet's floor is that low, barring like a catastrophic injury or like, mentality issues that we don't know about. And there's no reason to think he has any of that. So.
Spencer, let's go to your number 2 next.
My number 2 is Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
So
let's go to, since we know who it is, let's go to Brandon's number 2.
Yeah. So the guy that we haven't talked about as much, the consensus top 3, my number 2, and I had him at number 1 yesterday, but I went back to Chet, is Jabari Smith Jr. Look, Jabari Smith Jr.'s 3-point shooting is ridiculous. I mean, elite. Like, Chet is a great shooter. Jabari is an elite shooter, and he's 6'10", and he's also a really good defender. Like, he plays with the tenacity, which, by the way, Chet does as well. But like, the physical tools that Jabari has, as a power forward, to be able to defend like that and be able to switch on the perimeter more than likely, and to be able to shoot, these are all the 3 things that the Thunder need. And he is the perfect fit next to Shea and next to Josh Giddey. He doesn't need the ball. That's actually his big weakness, is creating for himself, putting it on the floor. I don't know if you guys have seen the stat, but the thing that's scary about Jabari is if his 3-point isn't falling, if his shooting isn't, hitting, it's like, what else does he do besides the defense? Offensively, he doesn't create. And if you guys have heard the stat, he has the lowest 2-point percentage of a consensus top 5 pick of the past 10 years. That's crazy. And that's at 6'10". That's a guy that, like, you know, he should be able to attack the rim, and he's got some size to him. He's got some beef to him. So that's a little bit scary. Some people think it's overblown, but I mean, I don't know how overblown it can be. So there's some risk there, but I would say his floor again is so high because he doesn't need to create on this team. Like, I'd say on another team, that might be a worry. You know, if you're picking a guy at 1 or 2 or 3, you want him to be a superstar that can create his own shot and create for others. But when you have Gideon Shea, you don't need that. You got a 6'10" dude. Like, you know, a lot of people say he's like a 6'10" Klay Thompson because Klay Thompson doesn't dribble, doesn't create for himself, but he does 2 things great. He shoots threes and he plays defense. And that's Jabari. So, I mean, you know, maybe his ceiling isn't as high, but man, that floor is so high, and it's still not bad of a ceiling at all.
And he's the youngest of the 3. We should point that out. He's just over 19. Chet's now over 20. Would Chet be like the 3rd oldest Thunder player?
Yeah, probably. That's true.
Paolo's like 19 and a half, just a little older than, like, Paolo's like right in the middle age-wise between those 3. All right. I also had Jabari at 2. And for the same reasons, I love, I think that, you know, at 19, it's hard to say like he's never going to develop into a more diverse scorer, especially with that shooting ability. Being able to get to a mid-range shot is, I think, a very achievable thing for him in time. So I really like Jabari. Love his defensive versatility. Spencer, if Scotty Barnes is a 10 defensively as far as guarding multiple positions, where would you have Jabari?
Well, look, Jabari is not where Scotty was at Florida State. Like, everybody knew, like, Scotty Barnes was probably one of the best defenders in the country at Florida State as a freshman. And I don't know that Jabari was at that level, but he does have like some pretty clear defensive upside. I think we would all agree on that. And yeah, I mean, that's where, like, if you wanted to have Jabari above Paolo in certain team constructions, I could totally get it, because his shooting upside is crazy. Even though Jabari can't pass or dribble, which are 2 things that Paolo is amazing at for his size, he can shoot, and it definitely could be an all defense team guy at some point in his prime.
Based on Presti taking Giddey and what he values there, and seemingly what he, I mean, who can say, but who's to say that he wouldn't have taken Giddey at 4 or 5? You know, even if he was higher. What does that say about, like, what do you think that translates to what he might prefer between Jabari and Paolo? What you were just saying about one can really, really shoot it at an elite level, but one can do the exact things that the other can't in passing and dribbling. What do you think? What do you think that how that translates to Presti and his thought process?
I think that's actually one of the most fascinating things about this draft, and is, you know, one reason why I would, just for the science experiment of it, like why I would want Oklahoma City to get the number 1 pick, aside from the obvious, just to know what he would prefer, because like Paolo is stylistically much closer to Giddey than Jabari, right? Yes. And even Chet, because he can pass, because he can dribble, he can move the ball. Like, Paolo was Duke's best passer this year, straight up. They didn't have a great point guard, so that maybe the bar wasn't that high, but he was their best passer. He was averaging 3 or 4 assists a game in March, and the offense, when it was going through him, was humming. Now, I do think at a certain point, and something else that I've thought about a lot, a basketball team that is operating at a high efficiency needs those release valves where you can pass, you know, rotate the ball around to a corner and have somebody that can make a 3 or even above the break, like rotate the ball, you're moving the ball. So, you know, this team's going to have so many ball movers, right? And if Lou Dort is a part of this core, like, he's going to be on the floor. He's not really a play finisher. He's not a release valve, and he's not necessarily a ball mover. I mean, I don't think he's a black hole or anything, but I do think at a certain point, you do need that release valve type of player, like a Danny Green, right? Not to compare him to Jabari because they're totally different, but somebody that can hit those shots for you. And I think it would be interesting to see where Presti sees this team in terms of, the life cycle of this process, if it's time for that type of a player or not.
It may have been both of you, but I know, Spencer, you mentioned you think Giddey is long term. You see him as the 4 for this team.
Yeah.
Where does that mean? Like, can Paolo play the 5? Like, can they play together? And is that? I mean, I would feel like that has to be at least a consideration.
Yeah, I mean, if they draft Paolo, then like my idea of Giddey being the 4 is probably just wrong.
That's fair.
Because
That's fair.
I don't think Paolo can play the 5. He's not vertical enough. I don't know what his wingspan is off the top of my head, but I don't think it's. I'd be surprised if it's too far above 7 feet. I mean, he's 6'10", so it may be 7 foot, 7'1", something like that. But he's not like a rim protecting 5 to me. But I do think they would fit. I mean, I think Paolo and Shea and Giddey are all like borderline basketball geniuses in some ways, like in different ways. And I think they would make it work, but positionally it would get a little clunky.
All right, number 3. We are on to number 3, and we've covered 3 guys. Brandon, who's your number 3? Have we already talked about your number 3?
Yeah, so it's Paolo. It's Banchero. And just kind of the last thoughts on him. I really like his offensive versatility. I like that he's the most well-rounded player. I like that he's the safest pick. In some ways, even though I have him 3rd, I might, kind of let out a sigh of relief if the Thunder get him, because then you don't really have to worry about, oh no, he's the worst, finisher at the rim of any top draft picks of the last decade, or oh, I don't have to worry that he's, $190 wet and wearing boots. Like, he's going to be a good player. The Thunder need good players. He's probably even going to be a great player, but, he definitely doesn't have, I don't think, the ceiling of Chet or Jabari. But he's just kind of a no-brainer guy. He's going to do a lot of things well. If his defense comes around and if his 3-point shooting becomes legit, then that's a game changer. But those are 2 big ifs. And to me, again, those are just at the 4 and the 5, the Thunder need defense and they need shooting. When you're building around Giddey, Shea, and possibly Dort, you need those things. So, those are my only question marks on Paolo. But everything else is a no-brainer with Paolo.
Spencer, have we talked about your number 3?
It's Jabari, so yes.
Well, we haven't talked about mine, and that is Shaedon Sharpe.
Oh, get out of here.
Nice.
We're gonna have a fight.
I love it. I almost went there. So I give you kudos for being braver than you went for it.
So, if I may have the floor, I'm worried, and this comes with a caveat. We obviously didn't see him play any basketball games.
Yeah, that's a pretty big caveat.
Check it out. Might be important. So I want to preface with that. Before I even say that, I want to say we are only going to see him in the empty Lifetime Gym scenario, which has fooled us before. It has fooled me before. This is the Carmelo Anthony special. Empty gym with trainers, and you just look fantastic. But the ones that we have seen, the very few that we have seen, this guy is legit. He is very, very, very good. 6'6". He's the same age as Jabari. I will give you the shades of from Kevin O'Connor. Paul George being one. Ever heard of him? And tall Bradley Beal. I will ask. I think I'm going to have a funner time talking to Brandon, so I'm going to start there. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Shaedon Sharpe?
Well, I'll just go ahead and say it now. He's my number 4. So I placed him above Ivy, which I hadn't done for most of this, mock draft season, but I finally pulled him up on my big board for the first time when I was redoing this. Look, I'm the same way as you. The Thunder need a superstar. They want a superstar to add next to Shea and next to Josh Giddey, Dort, man, those guys. And that's, why I'm not as high on Paolo. I think he's going to be a great player, but I think Chet could be a superstar. I think that Jabari could be a star. Paolo could be a star. But I look at the whole class. Jaden could be those top 5 guys. Those are the guys that could be stars. But when I look at potential ceilings, upside, all those things, there's a reason why Shaedon Sharpe is the number 1 recruit in his whole high school class, and why John Calipari, he's had 4 number 1 overall picks. And could it be just hyping his guy up? Sure, but he hasn't done this with other top guys. He said that if he came out next year, he would be the number 1 guy next year. Could he have just been wanting him to stick around, say like, hey, come back, you'll be the number 1 guy? Yes, obviously. But Calipari seems to know what he's talking about when it comes to number 1 picks. And then when I watch him, he just passes the eye test. Again, open court workout. I get it. But when you look at athleticism, skill set, the way that how smooth he is, like you said, there's some guys you watch and you're like, okay, that guy's just got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. And I think Shaedon Sharpe has it. And it's risky. It's scary because it would be such a huge risk. You mitigate that some, though, because you have the number 12 pick. So you should get 2 solid players at the very least. But Shaedon Sharpe could end up being the very best player in this entire draft. And it's not crazy to think that either. And you can get him, at number 4 or number 5. And, that's rare that you go in and think like, this guy may be the best guy. And he's not going top 3.
Spencer, the T-shirt potentials of Shea and Shea. I just need to at least offer it to you.
Like, and Canadians, right?
Exactly.
And Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah.
And they're both
lots
6'6" with
7
fans.
I don't want there to be a narrative that I don't like Shaedon Sharpe, because I do. My bemoaning of this pick was more to do that you had him above Paolo and
I want to preface with, I really, really like Paolo. This is not I don't like Paolo take.
Sure. And look, Brandon hit on a lot of things that I would have said there. Just the risk of like tanking for an entire season and you come away with Shaedon Sharpe. And like, I think that's a fine outcome if OKC picks him at 5 or 6. Like I would be excited. Like if Sharpe is to me the last guy, where if that is OKC's top pick in this draft, you still feel like pretty good that you might have something going into Summer League.
Yep.
I think it's these top 5 guys, and we're going to talk about Jaden Ivey here in a second. I think the 3 bigs, Ivey and Sharpe, would be that for me. But look, there's just so much risk. Like at the end, I know it's all about upside, but I just see enough upside in Paolo and Ivy that I'm not willing to take Sharpe above them. Now, again, if OKC picks at 6 again and Sharpe falls there, throw a parade. I think that's great. But the shooting, the athleticism, his wingspan is insane. It's I just pulled it up a second ago. I lost it. I think I believe it's well over 7 foot though, right?
I thought it was like 7.5 feet. The last time I thought I looked, but I could be wrong.
Which for somebody who's ostensibly going to be playing a 2 or maybe a 3, like that's very good. And that is, one reason why somebody like Donovan Mitchell is so good. And I believe Shaedon Sharpe is thought of as more of like a pure athlete than even Donovan Mitchell is. And he is an awesome shot maker, we think. At least he was that at lower levels. But yeah, I have him at 5, and it's just because of the risk profile being higher than I would like.
I'm looking for wingspan as well.
I've seen it before.
Everywhere I'm looking says 7 foot. I thought I saw 7 foot and half an inch somewhere, but I'm reading 7. Which again, if you're 6'6" and you're playing the 2 or the 3 and you have a 7 foot wings, we're talking about Shea's length. Like think about Shea's length. They're both 6'6" with 7 feet wingspans. That's ridiculous.
And Shaden seems like more of a pure shooter. Like the motion is very fluid and very traditional looking. But also like he can kind of do all of the other things. Like he can get it off the dribble and he can pass and he's very fast. He's very athletic. He does. I
Do
don't
we
think
know
he
that
has.
he can pass yet? I mean, do we know that yet?
He doesn't need to.
That's
on
fair.
this team.
That's more than fair. I probably shouldn't give him that box checked just yet because we haven't seen him play with other people. But I don't think his athleticism is where Ivy's is. I don't know that many people on Earth can say that.
Well, he's also, I think he's 2 full years younger than Jaden Ivey at least.
Yeah, and so
maybe 3.
I really like his upside, and like you're saying, if upside is the game here, and just the idea of he and Shea and Giddey, and where let's play this out. Where does that leave Dort?
On the Brooklyn Nets.
I think it's either, trade, like maybe use Dort and number 12 to move up to get, to make sure you get like Jalen Duren or maybe Benedict Mathurin or somebody that you really, really like, or, use Dort number 30 to move up, to the mid teens or maybe Dort, depending on his contract, is okay with coming off the bench and being like kind of Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has been such an important player, obviously, for the Celtics. And for a lot of years, he's been like a bench spark plug kind of guy. I mean, if Dort were to take a role like that, he would be fantastic off the bench. And then sometimes playing with closing lineups, play him if you're going small, you can still get plenty of minutes for Lou Dort, even if he's coming off the bench. Or, if you wanted to start Shea at, when you talk positions, like Spencer said earlier, Giddey playing power forward. Yeah, on offense, he's the point guard, but you look at, positions of who they guard on defense. So I would go like 1 SGA, 2 Dort, 3 Sharp. Again, wingspan, he can play the 3, Giddey 4, and then whoever your 5 of the future is. Like you can get by with that lineup too.
I'm curious where Shaden, like how he affects Dort, but also how he affects Trey Mann. And if we see if Trey Mann is like at least going into next year and going forward, like the spark off the bench, like the guy, like the main scorer, the Reggie Jackson type, even Harden, like that role, if they see Trey Mann as that, then I think it's very clean. Is James Wiseman gettable for is Dort? Could that be something that they throw around?
I think so. You do think I don't know that. I think value wise it makes sense. I don't know that the Warriors front office is going to be in a hurry to admit defeat to that degree.
I think that if the Thunder included like, a first round pick and Dort, if like, let's say the Warriors come up,
I would not do
short,
that.
Same.
Say what?
I don't think I would attach a first with Dort to get James Wiseman.
Well, it would be like one of those, like, let's say it's the Suns pick this year, something like a heavily protected future pick.
Maybe.
That's not going to be a top pick. If you're looking for like upside and you're not exactly wanting to pay Dort this coming season and give him big money, maybe you can do it that way. In my head, like, what about like a Miles Turner? Like Indiana wants to trade Turner, Thunder need a big. They could, like there's places he could go. You can get a big for him if you really want to.
Can I throw something out real quick that I was thinking about earlier? What if you packaged Dort and Kenrich to Brooklyn and said we want the 2027 unprotected pick from Philly?
Yeah.
And maybe like Day'Ron Sharpe or something, like somebody like that.
I mean, that's not bad. Like if you could, that's tough because it's unprotected and because it's 2027. That's not bad. That's especially with Embiid's injury history and Harden obviously looking, 5
He's
down
not going to be
the
in the league in 2027.
Right. 5 years down the road. I'll say this though. I do want to say this for Dort. If he were to take a bench role, and I agree with Ryan, that man on the bench is perfect, but a man Dort backcourt off the bench would be incredible. Like that is a great backup bench. Like if you're talking about the Thunder being a playoff team, I'd love that as a backcourt bench.
And if we're talking about Giddey as a forward long term, like Shea, Shaden, Trey Mann, and Dort as your 4 like main guards, you can do a lot worse than that.
Exactly. Yep. And let's not forget, Lou Dort does have a 6'9" wingspan too. So I mean, he plays bigger than his size as well. Mm-hmm. So the Thunder are all about defensive versatility.
I would say my positioning of Shaden Sharp at 3 did exactly what I wanted it to. That was a great discussion. Yeah. I have Paolo at 4, so we've already discussed him. So Spencer, who's your number 4?
It is Jaden Ivey, who frankly was probably the best college basketball player of any draft pick or lottery potential guy this year, including Paolo. I mean, Ivey was, at least for the first part of the year, was just unstoppable. I do think he checked out a little bit, especially on defense down the stretch, which is kind of a red flag. But at the same time, it's not something that I'm terribly worried about, just because I think he was mentally, kind of ready to be in the NBA already. Had a little bit of senioritis as a sophomore, which again is not ideal, but it's not something that is going to knock him too far down on my board.
Jaden Ivey listed at the same weight as Chet Holmgren, 190.
That's hilarious. How tall is Jaden Ivey? 6'3"?
6'4".
6'4". Yeah, and I mean, look, he's an awesome shooter. He proved that this year. He's 80% of the athleticism of Ja Morant. And I think that he would be a great fit on this Thunder team that needs some like high flying athleticism. Like of the core piece, like Shea and Giddey are not that. So you can get Ivey in there to run the break. Say they pick him at 4 because the 3 bigs are all gone. I think that's a pretty solid outcome. Now, eventually you do need to draft a center. But yeah, I mean, look, I think that if you have Ivey to kind of run the break and you can, I don't know, like if he's your 2 guard, I mean, I think Trey Mann is more of the ideal prototype of a shooting guard for this team, somebody that's going to run off screens and kind of create space when he needs to, be a microwave off the bench. But Ivey is just so electric that I think he can make it work.
Brandon, real quick, I think we all see these. We wouldn't be surprised at all with these 3 bigs going 1, 2, and 3. But if there were to be a shakeup at the top and one of Ivey or Sharp goes before one of those 3 bigs, do you think it's more likely that Ivey goes or Sharp?
It's a great question. I would think it would be Sharp only because of the upside, and these scouts and these GMs and these executives are going to see a lot more than we see, and they're going to have these one-on-one workouts. And it's not a deal where if all these guys see him and he impresses, they're like, okay, I can get him at 5 or 6 or 7, or I can like, if you want the guy and you think he's that guy, you're gonna have to get him at 3. Let's say, if somebody's gonna crash the party. Jaden. Now saying that, Jaden Ivey, who by the way is my number 5, and I'm also incredibly high on. I'm with Spencer. To me, there's 5 guys. Any of these 5 guys, those are the guys who could be stars. Of course, somebody's going to surprise later on, but we don't know who that'll be. But what we have to go by right now, it's these 5. And I would be ecstatic, really, if the Thunder got any of these 5. So I don't want to be down on Ivey, because Ivey proved a lot. And Spencer's exactly right. The Thunder need an athletic, high-flying guy. It'd be fun to have some of that Russell Westbrook energy back in OKC. It's fun for the fan experience, but also to have that sort of lob and that sort of rim threat for Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to play with. I know a lot of people don't want Ivey because he's just a traditional guard. They want him big, but man, Ivey could be an electric special player. The only reason I might have him lower, I'm not as high on him, because I am still a little bit worried about the jump shot. He shot 35.8% from 3 this year, which is nice. It's good, but it came down kind of as the season went on. And, it wasn't nearly as high his first season. His first season, he only shot 25.8% from three. So, I mean, like, there's still a little bit of fear of like, yeah, it improved, but how much did it improve? Was it fluky at all? Again, a lot more film to go on than Shaedon Sharpe, but what you can imagine is always higher than what you see. So as great as Jaden Ivey was, I think if somebody crashes the party, it would be Sharpe based on his potential.
Spencer, what did you think of the shot selection as the year went on from Ivey?
I think it got worse. I'm actually surprised to see that Brandon is right, that he only shot about 36% from three, because that number was definitely higher.
It was
like the midway point. I mean, he was about 40% at one point, which is a big improvement over where he was as a freshman. But his free throw shooting has become stagnant. And I do, more to your question, like the shot selection is, I would imagine, a big reason why that percentage came down. Defenses were just keying in on him. So if he wanted to get his shots off, like he was going to have to, try to, get tougher looks. And he I forget who they lost to in the NCAA tournament, but he hit an incredible three to give Purdue a chance down the stretch. And then he ended up missing another shot that was close to half court, just barely, that would have, I think, sent it to overtime. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about his shot making. If there's a red flag for Ivey for me, it's at 6'4", like that's kind of small for a wing, right? It's on the smaller side at least. I think you see a lot of point guards that are 6'3", 6'4", and he's not a point guard in the half court. I mean, he averaged 3 assists a game this year, but he also averaged over 2.5 turnovers a game. So I see him more as a 2 in the half court. And then if you want to give him the ball, it better be on the break, which is where he would excel. So
they got by the Peacocks. St.
That's right. How could I forget?
Yeah,
How could I forget?
Whenever I see, I would say most people feel like Oklahoma City is like overloaded with guards. Like they use that as a reason to not take Ivey or Sharpe. I don't think that. I don't feel that way. What do y'all think?
They are overloaded with guards, and that like Dort and Trey Mann and Teo Maladon are on this team, and Ty Jerome. But like the only guys in the core are Shea and Giddey. And really, I mean, if we want to be super honest, it's only Shea. Like I think Giddey will get there. He had an awesome rookie year, he exceeded expectations. But if you're talking about do you think X player is in your top 3 players on a team that's going to make the Western Conference Finals? I'm not sure that Giddey's there yet. So to me, the core is only Shea. And so you've got a blank canvas essentially to build around. And I think we've already touched on why Ivey or Sharpe would be a great fit. We've
also already touched on the fact that you hate Josh Giddey, and that's totally fine.
Giddey's the 4th best player on a contender. I'm still there. Which is, by the way, not an insult. Like that is probably, for a number 6 overall pick, that is above expectations, I would imagine.
I think one thing we all agree on is like these are the 5. Like this is kind of where the excitement level dips, is after this. So with those 5, I think we would all agree any of those first 5 we're going to be pretty pumped about.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that to me, like the measuring stick is like, was this guy worth losing 60 games for?
Yeah.
And like everyone else on my list, the answer is no. Now there are plenty of guys that I would love to trade up to like number 8, and we would be thrilled to get at number 8 or 9 or 10. But like you need to get at least, like, if not a tier 1 guy, at least a tier 2 potential all-star down the line if you're going to lose 60 games next season.
So if the madman with the wild smile pulls out the Oklahoma City card at 6 again, which we should at least note that is the most likely probability.
Shout out to Portland.
I mean, that's a tough look again.
It is, but I do think that, like, and we should touch on this too. There are some red flags with Shaden Sharp in terms of how he handled this process. And I just from listening to other, national podcasts this week, he's going to have some work to do in these interviews. Like, I do not think, I think it's definitely possible, depending on how the lottery goes, that Sharp could fall to number 6. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like, if he's there, I'm not floored.
Interesting. All right, let's move on beyond that top 5. We are now at 6, and we're going to start with Brandon.
Yeah, for me, number 6, again, this would be disappointing, I think, if the Thunder ended up with him, because you want one of those top 5 after, tanking all season. That said, Spencer mentioned Jaden Ivey maybe being the best lottery pick as far as having this season past year, like best overall season. I actually would say it's this guy, Keegan Murray. Like, when you look at just best overall season, like stats, scoring, all that offensive output and all that, Keegan Murray was incredible. He really was.
Yeah,
he's just not that sexy of a pick because he's older, because he doesn't have great elite athleticism. So his ceiling, his potential is kind of limited, unlike the guys above him on this list. But I tell you what, if you guy Keegan Murray, and, not to go back to Paolo, but in a way, there's some similarities. That you're getting a good player, like, bar none. Keegan Murray, put him on any team, he's going to make that team better. He's going to score you points. He's probably going to do it pretty efficiently, and he's going to know his role defensively, and he's going to be solid. He's going to be smart. So if the Thunder did end up with Keegan Murray, there would be disappointment that they're probably not getting a superstar, but there would be like kind of a sense of like, okay, we have another core piece. At the very least, we know we can slot this guy in for the next decade next to Shea and next to Giddey, and he's going to be a positive impact player. I think that you can say that with pretty much certainty with Keegan Murray, even if there's not a lot of sexiness about him.
Kevin O'Connor has him listed shades of Pascal Siakam, Al Horford, TJ Warren. That's quite the trio.
That makes no sense to me.
Those are very, very different players.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
Look, Murray to me is like, go ahead.
Oh, the comparison I've seen a lot that I agree with is Tobias Harris. Like,
yeah.
And again, Tobias Harris, that doesn't sound very sexy, but I mean, this is like a near all-star level player, Tobias Harris, at 21, 22 years old, talking about for the next decade. That's not bad. Now, that's not a superstar, but that's a really good player to have over the next decade.
He is 6'8", 215, and yeah, he's 20. He'll be 22 before the season starts.
Right. Yeah. So and the Thunder always, at least with their top picks, Poku, Giddey, Baisley, they go young, especially they go because he likes potential and upside and ceiling. And so you always go young, but he's gotten some old, Aaron Wiggins was an older player. Again, that was with the number 55 pick. Jeremiah Robinson Earl was older. So he will take older players, but we don't tend to see Pressey take older players with his top picks.
I also had Keegan Murray at 6, so we will move to Spencer for his 6.
Let me I just briefly want to touch on Murray. I do have him a little bit later because of his age. But he, to me, is another example of like that release valve type of player with Jabari Smith, where like, he's going to be able to shoot in a variety of different situations. And again, he would be like, if the Thunder traded up from 12 to get him, or even got him at 12, which is unlikely, but given his age, Tyrese Halliburton fell to 12, so you're 11, wherever it was. So you never know. But I do have him a few spots lower. I have Ben Mathurin at 6, a wing from Arizona who, to me, is a tier below Sharp and Ivy in terms of like a wing shot creator with superstar upside. I don't think Mathurin has that upside, but I do see a player that can create his own shot. He had a huge game in the NCAA tournament. against, I again forget. The NCAA tournament wasn't that long ago, but some of these specifics in terms of who these guys played have escaped me already. But he had a huge game. I believe it was TCU. Does that sound right?
I'll tell
Where
you.
he had, I believe, had over 30 points. But just his shot creation is why I would have him here at 6. And I think he does have some like defensive. Upside might be too strong, but like he's going to be a good wing defender. He at least has the tools to be. So I would have him at 6, and like the shot creation is why I have him over somebody like AJ Griffin, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Just because I value that at this spot.
He had 30 against TCU. Shout out
Yeah.
Spencer. It wasn't that
it took me a while, but it
so
he had some really big shots in that game.
Interesting to me is the so Shaden Sharp is 6'6", 175, and Mathurin is 6'6", 215.
He's big. He's a big. Do you have his wingspan there?
I don't. I'm looking at 6'6", 210. But no, I do not have the wingspan.
To me, he's a 3 on both ends, which the Thunder have pretty much 0 of, right? I mean, I guess Kenrich could be a 3, but I have Ben Mathurin here.
Kevin O'Connor, shades of Jamal Crawford, Karis LeVert, prime Victor Oladipo.
I choose prime Victor Oladipo.
yeah, of that 3 for sure. I'm seeing 6'9" wingspan for Benedict Mathurin.
Great. Sounds great.
And he might have even grown to 6'7" now, from what I'm seeing. Just to follow up on that, because Benedict Mathurin is my number 7, and I have him really, really close. Same for you?
Yep.
Yeah, and I have him really close to Keegan Murray, because I do think if I were to guess like what's one guy outside the consensus top 5 that could be a star, I feel like Benedict Mathurin could be that guy, because he does have athleticism. His numbers are actually really, really close to Jaden Ivey. In a lot of ways, he kind of seems like a poor man's Jaden Ivey, but I don't know how poor, because again, the numbers are pretty similar, and the athleticism, he's not as athletic, but he's up there. And in some ways, I could see his fit being better with the Thunder as far as Jaden Ivey goes. You still want Ivey. The upside's higher, the ceiling's higher, but I like Benedict Mathurin quite a bit, and he's Canadian, which always helps.
That does see there is a synergy there.
Canada is just Canada's national team is going to be crazy here in a few years if they can get right.
Yeah, it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder is what it's going to
be. So yeah, he was both Brandon and I's number 7. So let's go to your number 7, Spencer.
I'm going to go with AJ Griffin here, although it's very close. I pretty much have a tie at number 7 with somebody else here. The reason I have Griffin here is 1, the shooting, and 2, I do think that there's more explosiveness upside, I guess. Like, he was way more explosive as an athlete in high school, and then at Duke, like he had some sort of a lower body injury kind of right before the season started. I think he even missed 4 or 5 games. And he was still really a really good player throughout the year, but it did seem to kind of zap some of that athleticism. I'm sort of counting on him to get that back, which may or may not be wise. But regardless, I think he's going to, because of the shooting and he's a coach's son or an NBA player's son. I think there's a really high floor here for a high-level role player. So I have him at 7. And now Ryan is going to yell at me.
I'm not going to yell at you. 6'6", 222. We are talking about a tank. This guy is a unit. And he could be listed at 6'6", 270, and I wouldn't have batted an eye. This guy is one of the most heavy-legged players I've ever seen at any level. I kept looking at Anthony Morrow when I watched him play. in that like he's moving, but it doesn't really look like it, and it looks really hard for him. And again, Spencer, it might be what you're saying. Like maybe he gets some of it back, and maybe he like leans up, and it's not what it's looked like the
Yeah.
last 12 months. But my like the reason I'm down on him, and I say down on him, he's my number 8. But the reason I don't like him, I guess, as much as others is it just looks very taxing. Like I was out of breath sometimes watching him because it's just so slow and looks so hard for him. He doesn't get separation really at all. I mean, I think most of his open looks come from when the defense is occupied with Banchero in the middle of the lane or another guard. When the attention was off of him. But and that just doesn't seem like a tier 1 guy, or even like a guy you would be excited about after the season Oklahoma City just had.
Agreed.
For what you want. So can he shoot it? I think he's without question the best shooter in the draft. Like he's a special shooter. Can he get it off in NBA games? We'll see. Like the shades of for Kevin O'Connor was Jaylen Brown, TJ Warren, and a 3-point shooting Jimmy Butler. Which again, very different. Like a lot of TJ Warren, like so many times. I guess that was his out. Like if this guy sucks, I told you he was gonna suck.
I mean, a 3-point shooting Jimmy Butler is
that's the best player in the league.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The difference between TJ Warren and a 3-point shooting Jimmy Butler is like $300 million over 5 years.
Yes, exactly.
Like it's so different.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
But yeah, I love the shooting. I guess if he can move laterally a little better, like I think he can be a very good defender. I'm really not trying to knock him. It's just when I look at him and then I look at Ivy, it's like, oh my gosh, like one dude pops and the other guy like can't get separation really from anyone. And maybe that changes, and I hope it does. Like by all means, his dad was he was an assistant for Billy Donovan, like a really, really good dude by all accounts. I'm pulling for this guy. I have him at 8.
Yeah, I have AJ Griffin. Well, he's not next up for me, so I guess I won't say anything.
Okay, Brandon or Spencer, who is he tied with? Who's the other guy?
Jalen Duren.
Yeah, that's my number 8.
Let's go there. He's my number 9.
Duren to me has, I mean, he's one of the more fascinating prospects in this draft just because of how mobile he is. He is like somewhat of a traditional big offensively, but to me on defense, like he's what you're looking for in a modern center. Somebody that can switch, can go out onto the perimeter, has incredible shot blocking timing, is going to be able to protect the rim for you, has an insane wingspan. And like, I don't know, some people think that maybe he'll shoot it. I wouldn't put any stock into that. He didn't really try at all at Memphis, but yeah, he's a potential all defensive team center someday. So I have him at 8.
Yeah, that's why I like him so much. I've had AJ Griffin above him like this entire process, but I finally moved Durant above him because the way I looked at it, if the Thunder took AJ Griffin, who's my number 9, by the way, I'll just say that now. And I agree with everything you guys said. He just scares me. His 3-point shooting is elite, but if he doesn't get that athleticism back, if he doesn't get that bounce back, it's going to hurt his defense. It's going to make him one-dimensional on offense, and then all of a sudden he's just a slow-footed 3-point shooter. The potential is still very, very high because if he gets that athleticism back, he could be an insanely good player, but I don't want to bet on that. I'd rather take the bet on Jalen Duren being, like Spencer said, he's going to be potentially one of the best defensive centers in the league. And he's also a lob threat. He's going to provide gravity for Shea and for Giddey at the rim. They don't have a lob threat. Can you imagine Josh Giddey with a lob threat? Like he made Isaiah Roby, who I like, look like a lob threat at times. Like, but a guy like Jalen Duren who can truly, like his athleticism, he's the youngest player in the draft, which we know Sam Presti loves. He's a true center. He can jump out of the gym. And, his free throw shooting, he shot like 63% from the free throw line, which obviously isn't very good. But for a guy who's a traditional throwback guy who doesn't, shoot from the outside, 63% from the free throw line is workable. There's something there. I'm with Spenser. I don't think he'll ever become a 3-point threat. But if he's not hurting you, if people hack him, that's a positive. So I guess I like the safety of knowing I can slot this guy in at the 5. He's going to make your defense better, and he's going to provide you a lob threat. I like that more than the risk of what AJ Griffin is.
In some ways, he's a pretty similar pick to Steven Adams, right? In terms of like somebody that you would take in the late lottery and is, going to be a great defensive anchor for you. I think you can arrive at a similar idea if you're Sam Presti. Now, with that being said, I would prefer the Thunder's center of the future be able to shoot the basketball. Like that is still like I would value that over having a lob threat. But
yes.
if you're like if you're sitting there and you could either take like Tari Eason at 12 or trade up a marginal asset to take Duren at 8 or 9, like I would probably make the trade up.
Right. Well, and it'd be nice. I don't know. I tried to find out about his like screen setting ability because I think that's important. Because Shea and Giddey haven't really had a true like Steven Adams or even Perk or Nick Collison type of screen setter yet either.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen those guys. And think of all the times that Shea drives to the rim. Think of him with a true screen setter, or think of Giddey, his game with a screen setter. Like Duren at least has that potential, which is, an offensive side of the game, which you don't look at a lot, but it has value.
Kevin O'Connor for Jalen Duren, shades of DeAndre Jordan, Robert Williams, and TJ Warren.
TJ Warren,
you're kidding. You're kidding.
Just kidding. DeAndre Jordan and Robert Williams. But just an interesting note, because we mentioned him earlier. Kevin O'Connor has Indiana taking him, which is interesting because I wonder if that makes Turner, like if he sees that as a Turner replacement.
I'll say this: there's no way that you can draft Duren and your team of the future be built around Duren, Giddey, and Dort. That's just not in the modern NBA. Like something's got to shake loose there. Like there's just not enough shooting there unless Giddey dramatically improves his 3-point shooting and Dort gets his up to like 36-37% consistently. And as far as Turner goes, he's like always in the back of my mind is like the Thunder could go out and get that guy. He's a great shot blocker. He can play the 4 or the 5, and he can shoot from 3. And Indiana wants to trade him. So and he's still young. And like his off the court stuff, like he's high character, fun guy. Like I would love him in Oklahoma City.
I'm with Spenser. Like it's hard for me to like want to sign up for a big that can't at least move out to the perimeter and create space for others just by not being there. Like I was thinking about it a lot this year, like Sar, Roby, like what are those, like just throw them out there with the 2013 Thunder.
Yeah.
And they're the big. Like I know there were different bigs playing back then, but like Roby's the 5, and let's just see what happens. Like, what would those guys have done with a 5 that could shoot and dribble and pass and run the floor the way that? And again, Roby's like a marginal NBA player, but what would that have looked like? And it's scary to me to spend a pick this high. And again, I have him at 9. Like he's next, but like it's hard for me to like want to sign up for. In 4 years, do we now have to pay this guy big money and he still can't shoot? Like it's now time for him to be extended, and now we're paying. We're allotting a chunk of our salary cap to the center position again, and he cannot shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to think that Josh Giddey, you'd have to really believe in Giddey shooting, right, to take him at any point in this draft. And I do think the Thunder have some faith there, but man, like that, it is a gamble because if you have Giddey and Duren on the floor at the same time, and neither of them can shoot, and like Duren can even stand in the corner credibly, then your other three guys that are on the floor better be like 38, 39, 40% 3-point shooters, and not in a way that like, Lou Dort is kind of a credible 3-point shooter because nobody guards him. Like they need to be knocked down 3-point shooters that have gravity.
Yep.
I actually think that we all have him at 8 or 9. I think he's going to fall. I wouldn't be surprised because of all the things, GMs even more so than us value shooting more than ever. There are exceptions to the rules still, like Clint Capella and those guys. But if we, from our first kind of like few tiers here, I think we've had 3 tiers so far, the big 3, and then the 2 guards, and then these last 4 that we went through. I could see Duren falling, even possibly to the Thunder at 12. So I actually see Duren in play at 12 because I could see some of the guards and wings under him moving up because of these reasons.
Have we mentioned everyone's 8 already?
Everyone's 9.
Everyone's
so
9.
I've actually been charting this because I want to give everybody a composite here at the end. And nice. It's funny. We talked a little bit before we started recording, and Brandon and I agreed for sure that there's a top 9, and I think Ryan was mostly in agreement too. And we didn't know each other's boards, but like all 3 of us have the same top 9 in some order. Brandon and Ryan actually have almost the exact same list, except they have Paolo and Shaedon Sharpe flipped, and they have Griffin and Duren flipped, and everything else is the same.
Wow.
Which is
great
pretty funny.
Great mind, Spencer. What can I say?
Yeah. And I marked that here because we're about to get weird. Like 10 to 14, I have 5 names. If you ask me 2 weeks from now, they could be 5 completely different names.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's go to 10. Let's go to 10. Spencer's. Brandon, start us off.
I like Tari Eason at number 10. He's somebody that like I've seen him anywhere from like 8 or 9 all the way down to like 17 or 18. Apparently mocks are all over the board on Tari Eason. I don't see what there's not to like. He's probably the second best wing/guard defender in the entire class. And he also shoots the 3 ball really well. And he has some offensive versatility. I really don't know why more people aren't high on Tari Eason, but yeah, he's solidly my number 10 guy.
Can I throw out some red flags?
Yeah.
I have Eason in my lottery, so I don't think this is crazy to have him at 10 at all. But I'm not that sold on the shooting. The numbers look good, but if you go back to even just 1 year ago when he was at Cincinnati, he shot 24% from 3 and 57% from the free throw line. Now those numbers drastically improved at LSU this year. There's no doubt, but it's still like he played 33 games at LSU. There's not quite enough of a sample size for me to say that he's fixed. I do think that Will Wade identifying him at Cincinnati is an act of witchcraft. I have no idea how he did this. Seriously, if you're at home, go look up Tari Eason's numbers at Cincinnati. Like how this man got him to come to LSU and be like a borderline all SEC player is just unfathomable. And mostly came off the bench too. He only started 4 games this year, 17 points a game, and was like borderline unplayable at Cincinnati as a freshman. So, but yeah, like if the shooting, like that's why I have him in the lottery, because if the shooting growth is real, he's an awesome defensive player with a lot of versatility, and is going to be a high level role player.
I agree with all that, but I had to bring this up because I noticed it when I was doing all this. Jaden Ivey and Tari Eason's numbers are almost like, it's crazy how similar they are. And they both played 2 seasons, and both of their first seasons, there was this huge jump in shooting their second seasons, which makes it even crazier. So Jaden Ivey shot 35.8 from 3 this year. Tari shot 35.9%. Uh, let's see what else. And for their careers, Jaden Ivey is at 32.2, and for their careers, Tari Eason is at 32.7. Tari scored 16.9 this season. Jaden Ivey scored 17.3. Like it's pretty remarkable. Effective field goal percentage, Jaden Ivey 53.3, Tari Eason 55.9. So like across the board, shooting wise, their numbers are so close and similar, and they both had weak first seasons and then huge jumps the second season.
Take that, Spencer.
It's just
it's interesting. It is interesting.
I just don't get it. Everybody's just so down on Tari, and I just don't understand why. And like, I'm only using Jaden Ivey because everybody's so high on Jaden Ivey.
I do think that there's a bias that like, whether it's fair or not, that like guards who improve their shooting, it's like more believable than when a big does it. Again, that may or may not be fair. I don't know. I mean, Tari Eason's shooting 80% from the free throw line this year on almost 6 attempts per game is legitimately impressive. Like that is a great number for, I think he's going to be a 4, right? I mean, 6'8". I would think he's going to be a 4. That's a great number for a 4 in college, and that should be translatable. And that's not a low volume, almost 6 attempts a game. So like if you buy the shooting, I totally get it because everything else looks pretty good. I mean, 1.9 steals and 1.1 blocks a game, so 3 stocks per game. It's not like Matisse Thybulle numbers, but it's pretty impressive.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, so his defense is immaculate. And what I like so much about him with the Thunder is, he can basically guard whichever forward, is the stronger scoring forward, and Giddey can take the lesser opponent. Like if your 3 is a great scorer, then Giddey can take the 4. And if your 4 is a great scorer, Tari could take him and Giddey could take the 3. Like, so I like that fit a lot as well.
I had him at 10 as well. Continuing
shocker.
continuing Brandon and I's similar board. Kevin O'Connor shades of tall Jayshawn Tate.
Oh my God.
Jeremy Grant wouldn't mind. James Johnson.
Jeremy Grant's an interesting comp. I mean, I think he's more. He's certainly bigger. Or wider, maybe is the right word, than Jeremy Grant. But and I don't know, like at this point, Jeremy Grant's like an awesome scorer and can like dribble. And I don't know that Tari Eason will ever be there. But
Spencer, who is your number
10? With some regret, it's Mark Williams.
Interesting.
I mean, like I struggled to see a huge gap between him and Jalen Duren. There is a little bit of an age difference. I mean, Mark Williams is a sophomore at Duke this year, but he's arguably an even better rim protector and took over games at Duke with that ability at times. So yeah, like I don't love taking him at 10. I think there is a clear drop off after 9, but that's who I would have here.
Brandon, is he in your top 14?
Mark Williams is not in my top 14. I had him in my top 14 in my early big boards, but I started coming down off of him. If the Thunder would have got like the 15th or 16th pick and chose Mark Williams, I would have been completely fine with that. I think there's a lot better options at number 12 than Mark Williams. I have him at number 18 now, actually.
Very interesting.
Where do you have him, Ryan?
I had him at 15. I had him just outside. Okay. He was the last man out. And I think we're going to go next week. We'll probably go through 15 through 30. So he'll be someone that comes up again. But yeah, I like it, Spencer. I think he's really good. Like he's 7 foot. He's a little bigger than Duren. Like he's
he's bigger.
7 foot 242. Little older, like you said. Like I think 2 full years older. Yeah,
I mean at least 2. He was a sophomore at Duke, and Jalen Duren should have been a high school senior this year. So I don't know how young Williams was let's see, he was December 16th, 2001. So, man, we're old. There's 2001, 2, and 3 kids coming into the draft this year. But
he's 20 and a half, and Duran is 18 and a half.
Yeah, like there's just not that big of a difference between him and Duran in terms of what they can do right now. So that's why I felt like I should put him in the top 14.
I like it.
That's fair. That's fair.
You're 100% right that he really changed some high level Duke games this year. So very interesting. Where do you go for number 11, Spencer?
Again, a little bit random here. This guy may not be on either of your lists, but I've got Jeremy Sohan from Baylor.
You know what's funny? I'll just say this real quick because he was my number 19. At the very beginning, I said that these are basically just my top 14 guys, like overall, period. And they just happen to be the guys that the Thunder should pick because they need overall talent. I actually do think Sohan is one of the top 14 guys, but his 3-point shooting is so bad. Like there's like zero possibility. I think that he becomes I shouldn't say zero possibility, but it's unlikely he becomes a 3-point shooter ever or becomes any sort of spacer. So as great as the defense is, I just could not imagine a world where the Thunder take him and, start him next to Giddey and Dort, and then possibly a 5 who can't shoot down the line. So he was the one guy I dropped, basically, even though I think he is a top 14 talent.
I mean, he shot 30% from 3 this year. The free throw number is not great. It a little under 60%. But man, he's such a pesky role player. Like that guy is, going to get in your business. He's going to be an awesome defensive player. And yeah, I mean, he's 6'9". Like if Lou Dort is on this team long term, I would not take Sohan in the lottery. But I don't know. I think otherwise, like he's a pretty good fit for kind of the toughness and the physicality, which is something that Sam Presti talked about in his exit interview, was like trying to add some physicality to this team. And this guy fits that to a T. I mean, he if you watch Baylor down the stretch at all, I mean, he was great. I actually was in person. I live in Kansas City and watched them play a couple of Big 12 tournament games. Actually just one because they got knocked out by Oklahoma. But he was so much more visible than Kendall Brown, like who's Baylor's other lottery prospect and is probably a better athlete. But he was just so much more impressive to me than Kendall Brown was.
Kevin O'Connor has him listed as shades of Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, Aaron Gordon.
Some pretty good defenders there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sohan's probably the best. Sohan, and then we mentioned Tari Eason, and then one other guy that's going to be my next guy are the 3 best defenders in the draft. So, I mean, I could get around getting excited about Sohan Sohan because of his defense is that elite. But, man, I'd just be worried about it. It's really he shot 29.6 from 3. So maybe – but then he shoot – his free throw percentage, which is such a big indicator. He shot 58.9, as a forward. That just, to me, that's just scary.
Shout out to Ben Simmons. The Nets just got swept by the Boston Celtics.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
I will say Sohan, born in May of 2003, so he is still 18 years old. So maybe some shooting growth there. I don't know. Also, he's from Poland, and he was born in Guyman, Oklahoma. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. I did know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll put him back in my top 4.
He's in. Spencer, who do you have more faith in improving his 3-point shooting, Sohan or Josh Giddey?
I'm going to go with Giddey just because I know, I think he's going to do the work. Not that Sohan isn't, but I have faith that if Giddey's shot can be fixed, he will fix it.
Well, plus Josh Giddey shot so much better from the free throw line in the NBA than, again, so they're both so young. So, I mean, but Giddey shot 71% from the free throw line. this season. So I don't know. Sohan just scares me. I keep going back to it because I could see Presti taking him because, like you said, he talked about physicality, and I've seen Sohan mocked to the Thunder at 12 a few times. So, it could happen. So I'll just start getting excited about the whole Guyman connection, I guess.
And the updated Ringer mock has Jeremy Sohan at 11 to the Knicks.
Right.
Wow.
So
that would be a terrible pick for the Knicks. Oh my God.
Brandon, did we mention your number 11 yet?
No, so my number 11, I talked about the three best defenders, Sohan being one of them and Eason being one of them. Dyson Daniels, he played with the G League Ignite, also Australian, also possibly a point guard, can play wing, a lot of versatility, just like Josh Giddey. But he is an incredible defender, an incredible wing defender. You can put him on guards, you can put him on wings. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic. He improved as the season went along. Again, he's not a shooter, but there was a little bit more, I thought, to believe that the shot would come around. As you looked at, like the second half of his season, his 3-point percentage improved pretty drastically as the season went on. And his free throw percentage, he shot like 74% from the free throw line. Terrible 3-point on the season, but man, his defense is so good. And I like that he's a playmaker as well. Like the idea of that kind of defense along with the playmaking to put around. He's like I guess I should say, to me, is like a poor man's Scotty Barnes. Like great defender, great playmaker for that size, a lot of versatility, and then some offensive upside.
This is from Kevin O'Connor. When he shoots, he looks like a chair unfolding.
That's pretty good.
And with that said, I also have him at number 11.
You're kidding.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Did
you just copy off my work?
I swear we did not compare notes. Some doozies from Kevin O'Connor for shades of Derek White, Kyle Anderson, Evan Turner.
Yikes.
But he speaks highly of him, much more highly of him than Evan Turner, I promise.
Okay.
Man, I loved Evan Turner in the draft. Like I wasn't paying attention to the level that I am now, and I don't know if you guys were then either, but like Evan Turner was a dude at Ohio State. That was the Michael Beasley draft, right? Like that was a fun draft, and neither of those guys really panned out.
That's right. Oh, go ahead.
Those two guys were just awesome in college.
He was National Player of the Year, right?
I mean, him or Beasley, I don't remember. Or man, was Kevin Durant in that class? Or no, he wouldn't have been in that class.
I remember Evan Turner was the number 2 overall pick. That's all I remember, is that like it was always in my head that he was the number 2 overall pick because it seemed unbelievable. Like as the years went by,
he was he was the pick after John Wall. This is 2010.
Yes, that's right. And that was the year that DeMarcus Cousins went too. So
Correct.
he was picked above Boogie.
The 5.
Beasley was not in that draft then.
Yeah,
Beasley was the Derrick Rose draft. That's right.
That top 5 was John Wall, Evan Turner, Derek Favors, Wesley Johnson, DeMarcus Cousins, with Paul George at 10th.
Oh wow, yeah.
Who went 11th in that draft?
Cole Aldridge,
your
boy.
My boy, no.
Nobody's you're talking
boy.
About
Brandon Xavier Henry, number 12.
Oh yeah, also from Oklahoma.
Okay, perhaps.
That's right.
I went to college with at the time Xavier Henry's girlfriend, and he would show up every once in a while. Fun fact.
Yeah,
that's cool. Did you ever play against him?
Of course not. He was too scared. He took one look at me and was like, I can't do that. All right, we've gotten everybody's number 11, yeah?
Yes.
All right, number 12, I'll start us off with the Kansas shooter. Sounds like Brandon and I's 12.
Yeah. That is exactly my number 12. This is
Ochai.
hilarious.
Am I right in saying Ochai?
I believe so. Ochai
Abaji?
Abaji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the last name, but I was second guessing myself on the pronunciation. Shades of Jay Crowder. And Kevin O'Connor, we should mention, also had him mocked at 12 to the Thunder.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously he's my number 12 also, because we have the exact same board.
This is crazy.
Yeah, this is really, really nuts. But the reason I like him so much, obviously, is shooting. Like, I mean, he's a national champion. His shooting is unbelievable, but he's a solid defender too. Like, he's kind of like your cut and paste 3-and-D player. And at number 12, if you're just getting a guy that you can just slot in and be like, look, this dude's going to be a solid role player. He's going to hit threes for us. He's a smart player. He's going to put in the work. He's going to play good defense. That's great. If he was 3 years younger, I mean, he's probably like a top 6 or 7 player if he's 3 years younger. The only reason he's down so low is because of his age. Look, to me, he's like a Chris Duarte last year, and I think that the Pacers would say they're absolutely delighted they took Duarte. They're in a rebuild, and he was older, but he's a good player. If you can get a good player in your program for a decade, who cares if he's 20 or if he's 22? Yeah, he may not have the upside, but if I know I got a 3-and-D player for 10 years at number 12, I'm happy with that.
I co-sign everything you just said. I really like his shooting and his ability to go by guys once he gets guys in the air, and he's a leaper too. Like, he's not stuck to the ground at that size, and for the fact that he can shoot it that well and defend that well and has some high end athleticism, I really like him. I think the age, like you're saying, is the reason he's where he's at. 6'5", 214. Like, he's no slouch athletically and size wise. He's a big guy, and I think, Spencer, we're talking about a release valve, like you were talking about.
Yeah, he could shoot it, and he's my number 13. So I'm not too far off from where you guys are on him. I definitely think he should be a lottery pick. And he's the kind of guy that, like, if he's there at 12, even though he's a little bit older, I wouldn't hate it if Presti took him because of how versatile he can be on both sides of the floor. And yeah, I mean, he checked a lot of boxes. I think he's fairly local. I mean, Lawrence is not that much, not that far away from Norman. And I believe he's from the region originally, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he went to high school. I think he was born in Milwaukee. He went to Oak Park High School, which is outside of Kansas City. So yeah, he's kind of from the area, and I think would be a good fit on a lot of different levels.
If the Thunder, so to recap, Kevin O'Connor's mock draft, which came out today, has them taking Chet at 2 and Abaji at 12. What grade does that get?
It's an A+.
A+.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no notes.
The only way it could be better to me is if maybe Jalen Duren fell, or, honestly, it would kind of probably be the same, because I really like Agbaji a lot. And I'm just really confident that he's going to be at the very least a really good role player. And then you get Chet. The only way it could really be better is if that Clippers pick ends up a top 4 pick. I mean, that's really the only way it could be much better.
Spencer, my notes would be would watch.
Yeah, would watch. Yeah.
All right, my number. So let's go.
Yeah.
Is that you're number 12, Spencer?
Yeah, I've got Johnny Davis here, who is not necessarily a great fit for the Thunder specifically, given that, like, I don't know, his style of play is interesting. I mean, he's a guard who's kind of a shot maker. And he's not like a super athlete. Like, he's not a Shaden Sharp or Jaden Ivey. But to me, the talent level and for the season that he had, I didn't want to let him get past number 12. So he's at 12 for me.
He's an interesting one. He simply because we were thinking about the Thunder, he didn't make my top 14.
And I think that's fine because, like, if we are going to take a guard in this draft, I do think you want somebody that's going to be an above the rim athlete, ideally. but like again, like I have him above somebody like Tari Eason or Dyson Daniels, just because I do see a little bit of upside there. Not as much in somebody like Ben Mathurin, and maybe not even as much as like a high level role player like AJ Griffin, who's got a really high floor. I don't know that Johnny Davis has that high floor, so that's why I've got him knocked down a little bit. But I mean, he was awesome this season at Wisconsin. And by the way, he kicked Jaden Ivey's butt at Purdue in one of the more impressive prospect games in the country this season. So he's got some juice. If you caught him late in the year, he was battling an ankle injury. He played and didn't make excuses about it, but he was not healthy. But I mean, the man averaged almost 20 points and 8 rebounds a game this year. 6'5", 196 pounds, just a classic two guard. Who's the shades of for Johnny Davis?
We start with Devin Harris, but it gets better.
What?
It gets better. Chris Middleton was the second name, and then Sean Livingston.
Can I throw one out there?
Yeah,
I think to me, he's like in terms of how he moves in the half court and can kind of get his shot up. He reminds me of the guard version of Paul George, because he's so smooth, getting around different cuts and getting to a shot.
Yeah, that's probably an oversight. I'm probably thinking too much about the Thunder when I don't have him in the top 14, but he'll go much higher than that. He's a for sure lottery pick. Too many teams that need guards, and that'll always be the case.
Where do you have him?
16.
16. Okay.
I had him at 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very close.
So my number 13. I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly. Brandon,
I know where you're going.
Brandon, get ready. Ousmane Dieng.
So close.
Yeah. Thought we were going to run the tape.
Not to the pronunciation. I believe you said that correctly. I'm not sure, but so close to my ranking on him.
Shades of from Kevin O'Connor, Brandon Ingram. And then this one made me laugh so hard. Prime Chandler Parsons.
Did Chandler Parsons have a prime?
That's exactly why I laughed. Like, what?
I mean, the Rockets gave him like $400 million. So yeah, I mean, he must have had a prime.
I don't know, man.
And
was it the Rockets or the Mavs that gave him all that money? I can't remember. It was one of those Texas
teams. I believe the Rockets stole him from the Mavericks.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I think there was a restricted free agent like offer that was either matched or unmatched. If I remember.
Right. That's what I was trying to remember.
He was also arguably the co-general manager. Oh no, it was the Grizzlies that stole him. It was the Grizzlies. He got drafted by Houston.
Yeah.
And then spent 2 years in Dallas. And then I believe it was the Grizzlies that paid him all that money.
Oh man, that sounds right. Yeah.
For his
third year in the league, he averaged 16.6 points per game. That's a prime. I mean, that's fine. Yeah. He averaged double digits 4 times.
That's less than what Lou Dort averaged
this
season.
That Houston team was a little better than what the Thunder were this year.
His last shades of was the second appearance of Evan Turner on in the lottery.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's is somebody that frankly I need to do more research on. He popped like a week ago. The ESPN guys were really kind of hyping him up a little bit,
and he was a late addition to this class.
Yeah, so I need to go back and watch some tape. Frankly, I have him at 15 preliminarily, and that's based on just knowing kind of what he's good at and his, and kind of reading what his strengths and weaknesses are. But yeah, totally a Presti player, and could be a good fit.
Great handle at 6'10". He averaged a little over 13 points per game. Definitely leaves a bit to be desired, skill wise, but 6'10", 200, he's 19 and can handle it. Seems like a guy Presti might be interested in at 12 if he's Yeah, but I would imagine there are going to be guys there that he likes more. But yeah, that's my number 13. What about you, Brandon?
My number 13 is Malachi Branham from
Nice.
Ohio State. Am I the only one that's got him in the lottery?
I don't, but he's
I don't either.
he's just outside for me. I mean, I've got him at 18, but I'm excited about him. I want to hear the case.
Yeah, so he's somebody that I got to be honest. Only the last couple weeks have I really kind of dove into him. I kind of looked into him a little bit before, but man, the second half of the season was just incredible. He ended up shooting 41.6 from three, 83.3% from the free throw line. He scored 13.7 points a game, 3.6 rebounds, 2 assists. Just a really good offensive player across the board. And he's also he's a guard. So, when we talk about Ivy and Sharp and Benedict Mathurin, I think that Branham is, a tier below those guys. There's all these tiers, but I think at the number 12 pick, if the Thunder end up taking Branham, again, just like Agbaji, you're getting a guy that you can depend on to come in and hit threes. He does a lot of things actually offensively pretty well. He's pretty good scoring at the rim as well. His effective field goal percentage was 55.6. Just a solid overall player. His defense, I've seen different conflicting reports. I've tried to watch like a couple of whole games. I haven't got through them yet just to watch his defense. It seems passable. I've read that he's got the defensive tools. I've seen that he's below average on defense. I've seen he's average on defense. So the consensus kind of seems to be more he's passable and average on defense. But he seems like he could be a really, really nice offensive player.
Shades of
and he's
Chris
super
Middleton
young.
and Karis LeVert.
Man, a lot of Chris Middleton love for some of these 6'5" shooting guards. It's interesting.
Yeah. Where is he in the Ringers draft? I forget.
22
Oh, he's pretty low. Yeah.
to Memphis.
Well, he's a late bloomer. Like, he was not somebody that was expected to be a one and done guy. And he's super young. He's, again, another May 2003 birthday.
Right.
But like the shot making there is pretty undeniable. Now, everything else is fairly raw. But he does have a 6'11" wingspan at 6'6", which is pretty interesting. Like, if the Thunder ended up with him, like this is the type of guy where if Presti takes him at 12, I would watch out, because that, like, if they're bought into his upside, then there could be something there.
Yep, I agree.
All right.
I mean, because they see so much more than we do again. And I think at this point we've got to trust Presti and the Thunder scouting department. So yeah, if they're taking him above guys, let's say like Dyson Daniels, and Sohan and those guys in that area, there's something to him for sure.
Brandon, who's your number 13?
That was my 13 was Branham, Malachi Branham.
Yeah, sorry. Spencer, go ahead. 13.
My 13 was Agbaji, so we've talked about him.
Okay, cool. All right, so on to 14. Go ahead, Spencer.
Tari Eason.
All right.
Talked about him.
Brandon, what about you? 14.
Mine was Ousmane Dieng. And I don't know who said his name more correctly. But he does kind of seem to be the classic. I know that he's being mocked to the Thunder a lot. And it makes sense because he's such a huge high upside swing, so raw. Again, an international guy, but you're looking at a guy like 6'10" with handles. That's like Presti's new prototype. Really raw, but man, the upside is really, really high. I wouldn't love taking him at 12 just because I feel like the Thunder have already taken some swings and they've kind of got that whole big, huge dude who can dribble and pass and shows offensive versatility kind of down pat now. And I'd like him to see maybe take more of a sure thing at 12 than I would Dieng, but I could get around Dieng just because the upside is so high.
14 for me was Sohan. So we have talked about all of our top 14.
Awesome. Well, Ryan,
Nice.
where did you have Malachi Branham?
To be honest, I haven't made it past 16. I had 16 names written down, and I haven't made it beyond that.
Would you mind just give me a guesstimate so that I can finish this ranking here?
Probably somewhere where, I mean, I would probably have him ahead of like Walker Kessler, Jaden Hardy, probably in the late teens, like before 20.
Say 19.
Yeah.
Say 19. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just sort this out here. And
Are you going to give us
off,
consensus? Nice.
Yeah, I'll read off our consensus board. So at number 1, we have Chet. Number 2, we have Jabari. Number 3, we have Paolo. Number 4, we have Shaden Sharp. Number 5, we have Jaden Ivey. Number 6, we have Ben Matherin. Number 8, we have Keegan Murray. Number 9, we have AJ Griffin. Number 10, we have Jalen Duren. Number 12, we have Tari Eason. Number 13, we have Okai Agbaji. Number 14, we have Dyson Daniels.
Nice. That was nice and quickly done.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we've got a few guys ranked after that. So the guys who we talked about but didn't make the lottery are Ousmane Dieng, Mark Williams, Johnny Davis, and Jeremy Sohan and Malachi Branham.
Nice. Okay.
And is Ty Washington this year's Keon Johnson?
I have him at 16. Look, I'll say this about Ty. The first half of the season, he looked like a definite lottery pick, and then he had some injuries, and he just wasn't the same after injuries. You know, if he gets back to his initial pre-injury condition, he could still be a lottery talent. I don't think he's a fit at all with the Thunder. He's a true point guard. He's too small to kind of give you defensive versatility, but I think he could be a solid pick for some team in the teens that needs a point guard.
Unfortunately, he's probably this year's Tyrese Maxey.
He could be. He could. What I'm hoping is like the Knicks take him at number 11, and somebody falls even better to the Thunder at 12.
That would be such a better pick for the Knicks than Jeremy Sohan. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah.
And they have him. The Ringer has him mocked at 16 to Atlanta.
Oh, so
another weird fit.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's such a weird fit with Trey. Like, obviously, they're looking at backup point guard, which makes sense. But then you got two really small point guards.
And the first,
I will say, I mean, Ty's wings
is I don't love this pick for Atlanta because Washington is only 6'3".
Yeah, but he does have a 6'9" wingspan, so maybe he could play next to Trey in certain lineups.
Possibly, I feel like he's really small though. Too, like his weight is really small as well. I feel like, but maybe not. He probably weighs the same as Ched.
Well, yeah, exactly. 197.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You guys have anything else?
No, I think, man, we took us about 2 hours to get to the lottery. So we'll see.
Wow.
Let's see if we can do better than that for the second half of the first round.
Yeah, we made it for some lost time.
I was about to say
we've been a podcast for months, but when we do,
we've been away for a bit. We've been away for a bit, so I figured we'd come back with a bit of a bang here. All right, guys, thanks so much. This was fun, and we'll be back to do this to do the back half of the first round, which it seems like the Thunder are still going to be involved in next week. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Thanks so much.
Absolutely fun to do this. Glad to be back.
All right, talk to you soon, Thunder fans. This is the Daily Thunder Podcast. Hey, Hoopheads. We appreciate you listening to this episode of Daily Thunder. Be sure to check out other NBA pods on the Hoopheads Podcast Network, including Cavalier Central, Nuck If You Buck, 305 Culture, Spanning the Spurs, #Lakers, Motor City Hoops, X's and O's NBA Breakdown, LA Hoops, The Wizards Hoops Analyst, At the Buzzer, and Lakers Fast Break. There are also coaching-focused podcasts, Thrive with Trevor Huffman, Beyond the Ball, the CoachesMaze.com podcast, Players Court, Bleachers and Boards, The Green Light, and Courtside Culture. Oh, and don't forget the network's flagship, the the Hoop Heads podcast, hosted by Mike Klinzing and Jason Sunkel, and featuring the best minds in the game from its grassroots to the NBA.